Those days. I remember those days.
Hello, Vinyl community, and welcome to another musical adventure. In today's adventure, I'm going to do it. I'm going to talk about it like everybody else on YouTube in the vinyl community. The new Paul McCartney album, The Boys of Dungeon Lane, that was just released a little over a week ago. It's out, and there are a lot of thoughts about this album, and I wanted to throw my hat into the ring, give my 2 cents about my thoughts about this album. Now, I want to give a couple of precursors, maybe. I think great art is judged by history. I think it's very hard and difficult and almost impossible to judge great art during its time. Having said that, I think the great pieces and the great works and the great literature and all of the great art probably wasn't as popular or accepted in its time, and it had to sort of weave its way into the hearts and the minds of people. And I think that's where the great art lives. Even if you look at popular music over the last, 75 years of popular music, and you go back and you look at the stuff that tops the charts and all the things that has gone through history and were big hits at the time, have kind of been forgotten over the years, and stuff that maybe wasn't quite as popular now is highly regarded. Again, that's not always the case. I think there are things that are popular in their time and continue to be popular, like the Beatles. Beatles were very popular, very commercially successful, but they've held up all these years. People still talk about them, people still study them, people still care about the Beatles. Which is why we're talking about Paul McCartney's new album. If it was anyone else in the whole world, we probably wouldn't talk about this album. It'd probably be something we would just say, oh, so-and-so released an album. How about that? But because it's Paul McCartney, a lot of people are talking about it. And a lot of people have strong opinions about it. And so I kind of want to maybe try to break that down a little bit in the course of this video. So be patient with me, and we'll talk about the album itself. And so I gave that precursor to say, I don't know where it's going to stand up in the grand scheme of thing, where all of Paul's work sits. I don't know. I know that I enjoy it. I know that when I play the album and listen to it, the songs are pleasing. I don't listen to it and think, ugh, why is he doing that? Or why is he doing that? Or what's going on here? I think the thing about Paul is we've done that over the last several years with his albums, and all the big critiques come out and say it's his best since this. I did a social media post a few days ago, and someone said, well, he hasn't been charming since When I'm 64. It's a long time ago. And I mean, we're all entitled to our opinions and our thoughts, and we all are going to react to music differently. And so what I'm hearing may not be the things that you're hearing. Our buddy Tim Allen, hi Tim. Tim commented on my post and said something along the lines of, this album sounds like what a Paul McCartney album should sound like. And that's a good thing. That's very succinct. And yeah, I agree with that. And so that's why I'm quoting him. Go check out his channel, by the way, if you haven't. But, the thing is, and again, I go back to this thing about art. And I know art is subjective. It's all in the eye of the beholder. It's all about how, we take it. And so criticism is just that. And so where does the criticism end and the reaction begins? Because I think a lot of people are reacting to the new Paul McCartney album. And let's face it, I mean, Paul McCartney at 83 years old releases a new album, it goes immediately on the radar. Fans and collectors and people like myself, and I've made videos here where I talk about Paul and my love for Paul and my fandom of Paul, which is really I've come to grips with over recent years. But, you know, there's always a certain amount of excitement and a certain amount of build up and hype that goes into a new Paul McCartney release. He's certainly making the rounds. He's doing a lot of interviews. He's doing a lot of shows. He's doing a lot of promotion. And to get into that just a little bit, I think that's what you have to do these days, especially someone like Paul McCartney. Because the thing is, you're not turning the radio on top 40 and hearing Paul McCartney songs. So if he's going to be relevant or make any dent in the charts whatsoever, he's going to have to promote. And it's going to be up to longtime fans, new fans, people like me and you, because if you're watching this video, chances are you're probably a fan, to go out and get it. And then that becomes the whole thing. There's 17 different variants of the album that's been released. So a lot of you, many of us, I'll put myself in there, have multiple copies of this one album because Paul McCartney is sort of playing the game a little bit in that, you know, if I sell 2 or 3 copies or 4 copies or 17 copies, then that all goes into the numbers pile. And as we found out this last week, the album debuted at number 1. Now, is it going to have any longevity? Is it going to be there in a year? Probably not. But having said that, you know, he can boast in 2026 that he has a number 1 album, which is a cool thing. And I'm not faulting him for that. It's one of those things where you hate the game, not the player, the way things are designed, the way it's set up. And I mean, you know, let's just be honest, it's kind of fun for collectors. Well, Paul's being very crass and commercial about it. You know, I want to bring people's attention to something. Back in 1968, when the White Album was released, there were numbers on it. And I know in Pete Shotton's book, but I think it's been documented that Paul had hatched this plan that they were going to have a drawing for the numbers, and whoever had the matching number was going to win some kind of prize. And someone kind of went, Paul, you don't have to do a gimmick like that to sell Beatles albums. And he was right, and they were right, and Paul kind of just went off the idea. Because the thing is, Paul's a creative person. He's always thinking forward. How can I promote? How can I do these things? And he's been doing it his entire career. This isn't a new thing that just came up recently. I mean, yeah, the times have changed, and the way we do things are different. But as far as promoting and self-promotion and all those things, Paul has done it way back when, even back to the days of the Beatles. The nostalgia aspect of this album. It's no secret this album is a tribute to Paul's boyhood. Some are calling it the prequel to the Beatles. Some of his memories of growing up in Liverpool. So there's a nostalgia factor there. Again, Paul's been mining that for years and years and years, going back to the Beatle days. Your mother should know. As John called it, Paul's granny music. Paul has always been nostalgic. This isn't a new thing that he's just decided to do. Oh, I'm going to tell this story that happened before the story everyone knows. He's always had a bit of that, a knack for it or a leaning toward it. So that's not new either. And so a lot of the criticisms that I'm hearing, about Paul being commercial, about Paul being too nostalgic and all that stuff, that's fine. If that's what you don't like about the new album, then okay, that's fine. But that's nothing new. Paul's not doing anything new. Another thing I hear is that Paul needs an editor. Paul needs a partner. John Lennon would tell Paul no. That's very true. And probably not since maybe Elvis Costello or Nigel Godrich. Every time Paul has had a formidable sort of foe in the creative world who told him no, especially when you look at Elvis and Nigel, those guys aren't working with Paul anymore. And there's probably a reason for that. And so Paul does kind of surround himself with probably yes men and people who probably don't shoot down his ideas as quickly as someone else might. That may be true. that may be a thing that's a valid criticism. I'm not saying that it's not. I think Paul, again, is a very forward-thinking and very creative person. And I think if you look back at the history of Paul McCartney, even back to the days of the Beatles, in the back of his mind, there's always been some idea of promotion or getting ideas out there. And some of the ideas, they fall flat on their face. Give my regards to Broad Street. Anyone? Or the ones that he sees through, or they just fall dead. And, like a lot of creative people, we get an idea and then, but if it's one we'll wrestle it to the ground and make it happen and bring it into life. As a songwriter, that's something that Paul McCartney does. It's like, I've got an idea for the song. I'm going to create it. I'm going to do it. So another word that gets thrown around a lot, and it's overused, and we all need to stop using it, is the word masterpiece. We use that word rather flippantly, I think, that, this is a late masterpiece, or this is full of masterpieces. My definition of a masterpiece is that it's an artist's defining work. That this is the piece that defines the artist. It is their masterpiece. In other words, an artist, a true artist, probably can't have multiple masterpieces. This is the piece that defines them as an artist. This is their calling card, if you will. And so when we throw around the word like, this has got several masterpieces on it, or he's done like 5 or 6 masterpieces. I mean, maybe he's done some really great albums that are on par with each other, but I don't know that you can use that word so loosely. And so is this a masterpiece? Probably not. Does that mean it's not good? No, it just means it's not his defining work. And this goes back to the other thing. He was good when he made this album, or he should have stopped after this album. Well, you know what? You can still listen to all of those albums. Band on the Run, sitting over there on my shelf. I can play it anytime I want to. I can enjoy it. I still love Band on the Run. I think it's a great album. Makes me smile. I don't compare it to this. That Paul McCartney is a different Paul McCartney than the one that is presented here. This is an older Paul McCartney, a more seasoned, wizened Paul McCartney. He's lost people in his life, people that were close to him. It's a different story that he's telling. And so, I know that we're always going to stack up people's work against their own work. And we're all going to have our preferences. We like this a little better than that. And so we're always ranking and putting these things in some kind of order, like this is the best, this is the second best, this is the third best. But sometimes we just need to let the work stand on its own and speak for itself and let that be the thing. And so I say all that to ask that we judge this album just on its own merits. The last album he made 6 years ago, McCartney 3, we're all comparing it to that. This is better than McCartney 3. He should have stopped at McCartney 3. Then you've got Egypt Station. Then you've got New. You've got all the later period Paul McCartney albums, where does the later period begin? Driving Rain, which some of you are very critical of that album. Here's my thing about Paul McCartney, and maybe it's just me, and I may be in a minority, but I have enjoyed every Paul McCartney album of the last 30 years. Some I like better than others. Some not so much. But here's the thing. Whatever your worst McCartney album of the last 30 years may be, I can honestly say you could probably put it on and I would say, I like this album. It's fine. Driving Rain gets a lot of hate. And I hear that album and I go, listen to the bass playing on that album. Just Paul's bass playing is just some of the best bass playing I think he's ever done. That's me, but I like the album. I don't hate it. Egypt Station is fine. What I like about the recent McCartney albums, 3 and this one, is that to me, it feels like he's not trying so hard to be relevant. And what I enjoy about Paul McCartney is, unlike a lot of older artists who reach a certain point, they want to do duets with the hip kids and all these things. I know some of you are screaming, well, he did do that collaboration with Kanye a few years ago. Yeah, but he didn't put it on his album. And the thing is, Paul has never, in the history of his records, the last hip collaboration he may have done was Elvis Costello back in the late 80s. That's not saying a whole lot. And that even at the time, that wasn't seen as sort of a, Paul's trying to team up with the youth. I'm looking at, things like Brian Wilson's No Peer Pressure album, where it's like, we're going to put Brian with a lot of cool kids. It's what a lot of people do in their later careers to sort of remain relevant or to show that they're cool. And look, Paul does it in a different way. I saw the article about how Taylor Swift approved of the new Paul McCartney album. Who cares? I mean, I guess if you're a Taylor Swift fan, that's great, but I don't need Taylor Swift to validate what I'm hearing. So that's just me. I mean, I feel like we have to make excuses for the things that we like and the things that we don't like. So, having said all of that and all of my rant, The Boys of Dungeon Lane, it's a good album. I enjoy it. I've listened to it a few times. There's some songs I like better than others. The first song, As You Lie There, that song took a couple of listens for me, but it kind of started to click. I'm not sure about the spoken word. It kind of threw me off at first, but then I realized it's kind of creepy and a little sinister, which is kind of interesting for Paul. He doesn't do that a lot. Lost Horizon's a cool song. I really love Days We Left Behind. Call me an old nostalgic fool, but I think it's a lovely, lovely song, and I think the sentiment of that song is really beautiful, and I think it's a classic Paul McCartney ballad. Ripples in a Pond sounds like classic McCartney to me. Very good song. Down South is a fun song. A lot of fun to listen to. I really love Home to Us, the duet with Ringo. I think that is a fantastic, catchy, just great McCartney song. Salesman Saint, the song about his father, is really cool. And Mama Gets By is it's cinematic. It's a beautiful piece. And McCartney at 83, still at the top of his game. This is a solid album. There's nothing on here that comes on when I hear it and go, ugh, there's this song. He's not trying to be cute. He's not rapping in any of the stuff. I'll go back to Egypt Station and the song For You. You're trying to be cute, Paul, and that might have been fun back when you're in your 20s and maybe early 30s, but not at your age. It's not. You can do better. And it's even that song, for all of the criticism, it's a catchy little tune. It's just a little too much. It's for someone his age. This album is befitting of someone his age. And I enjoy it. It's a very good record, and it sounds fresh. The production to me is not overbearing. Yeah, Paul's voice has aged, but he's 83. Again, it would be weird if it didn't. So I give the man a break when it comes to that. Maybe I'm giving him too much of a break. Some people are like, he just can't sing anymore. I find that a little bit extreme. I've heard some other records from older artists, and no, they can't do it like they used to, and it's different. But at the same time, I think some people wear that well. I think Paul's very aware of the limitations his voice has, and I think he wears it well. I think he's doing very nicely, considering all things considered, especially for someone his age. And here's the thing. Paul McCartney still wants to make music that people enjoy. I think that's always been his MO. I think that's always been the way he's operated as an artist, as a solo artist. Paul wants to make music that pleases you as a listener, as a fan, all of those things. And I don't think any of that has left. And this is the thing. Paul McCartney at 83 years old doesn't owe us anything. Now, that doesn't mean he can make bad albums and just say his excuse, well, I don't owe you anything. That's not true, but here's the thing. Paul McCartney doesn't have to release any records at all. There's no pressure for him to release new music. So why not enjoy and make songs that he wants to make? And this is where I am. This is the songs I want to share with you. If you like it, you like it. And if you don't, you don't. I just feel like some of the criticisms are unfair, and they have nothing at all to do with the music itself on the album. And so, you've got all those old McCartney records that you love. You can still love them. They're still there. I have mine over there. When I want to hear them, I can pull them out and play them and enjoy them for what they are. This album is an album that I will pull out frequently and enjoy, just like any of the McCartney albums of the recent years. Some, yes, better than others. Still, when I'm playing an album like New or Egypt Station, I like it. May like this one a little bit better. How it stacks up, maybe this one's a little better because it feels like an adult, aging Paul McCartney. Now, I'm not going to speculate that this is his last album. I don't know where everybody's getting that from either. I haven't read any indication that Paul says, I'm hanging it up after this. This is my final statement. Is this wishful thinking? I don't know. I hope Paul continues to go for as long as he wants to go. So I'm not even going to speculate that this is the final statement from the great Paul McCartney. I'm going to say that I hope he continues to make music. I hope he continues to make people happy and to bring that music to people and bring those songs and bring that joy. Because as I said in one of my previous videos, I don't think there is a single artist in the history of popular music of the last 60 plus years that has brought more joy and more happiness to audiences around the world than. So who knows if this is Paul McCartney's last album, if it's his best album, who knows. But what do you think? What variant did you get? Let me know. Comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. If you like adventures like this, I try to reply or respond to each comment. If I miss one, I deeply apologize. Hey, and if you know someone that might be interested in this, share the video with them and get them to subscribe. So I appreciate everyone that takes time to hit that subscribe button and everything that is along for the channel and everything that we do here. It's just great. Paul McCartney, the Boys of Dungeon Lane, there are my 2 cents. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.